Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for attending this. If you have any questions during it, please either put your hand up or wait for a pause in the talk in case I don't see your hand raised, because I'll be sharing my screen in a minute. And of course, you've all got my contact details, so you can talk to me after this presentation as well. And I'll stay on for an extra 5 minutes after the presentation if you want to discuss anything further. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. Include sound. Just give me a thumbs up if you can all see that when it comes up. Okay. All right. Yep. So yeah, like I said before, thanks for attending. We're going to be looking at workplace hazards. It's going to take approximately about an hour. Depends. It might take a little bit longer. Depends on if everybody interacts or we get through it quite smoothly. This is the beginning of, this is just like a theory side of things, but I will be coming to the sites and we can walk around your sites, look at hazards on sites, how you're mitigating against them or your safety measures you're using, and see if there's any improvements we can make. So although today we'll be talking about workplace hazards, I will be coming to sites and we'll be doing it practically as well. Just a bit of housekeeping. We're all in different sites today, so please just follow, if you're on site, your emergency response. Don't worry about logging off. We can find out later if anything happened. So hi Tom, welcome.
Good morning. Sorry, mate.
No, it's fine. So yeah, housekeeping, follow your own emergency procedures there. If you have to take a phone call, just remember, put your microphone on mute. That's fine. I understand we're all in work today, so things can happen and things can change. Hope you've all got a cup of coffee and tea or water. We will have a very small break, just a mini break, just to regather our brains and have a little rest. It'll only be 5 minutes, but I'll let you know when that all happens. A little bit about myself. You should all know me. I've been working in health and safety for nearly 30 years now, in one form or the other. And I've before I got into working here, I've been here for 2 years, quarries and concrete. I was working offshore drilling all around the world, both at sea and on land as well. And I worked in the shipping world also as an accident investigator. So I am very passionate about creating safer workplaces and ensuring people do go home safe. Is something that really drew me into this type of career. I won't go too much. We won't go into about what you do. I know all you guys. We don't have to really go around the room and say what you all do, because I know your jobs. I know they're difficult, and we all have different stresses and strains on our lives. Okay, so learning objectives, I put in brackets there SMART because it's what it stands for: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So, okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to identify common workplace hazards using examples, distinguish between hazard types, but we're going to mainly concentrate on the physical, chemical, environmental, and mechanical. The potential impacts of these hazards on our health and safety, and we'll look at applying basic steps of hazard identification, and we'll also talk about your own workplace for the hazards and suggest at least one control measure per hazard. Hopefully we can do that today. If not, we'll be doing it when I come and visit the sites, as I mentioned earlier. So we're looking at key concepts. We're looking at risk assessment principles, hierarchy of control, a bit of regulatory compliance, but I won't go into it too much because that is far too heavy for us. But the UK Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. We'll briefly talk about safe systems of work, but that will be another lesson we'll do at a later date. And we'll also touch on COSH basics, the control of hazardous substances harmful to health, which I know you are all familiar with. Yeah, we're using this PowerPoint. There's a couple of videos. I sent you some handouts prior to this lesson day, so I hope you've all got them. And that was the risk assessment, some like a hazard checklist, and also we have access to HSE websites and other similar online tools. And I will be sending you this presentation with all the references on it, where I got all the information from. So you'll be able to look up on your own and read even closer into it. And then maybe a little bit of homework before I come and visit you on site. Hopefully you can do for me. Yeah, the agenda, we're just going to do an introduction. So I will go around and ask a few of you simple basic questions. We'll look at hazards, risks, risk assessments, the 5 steps to risk assessment. That's from the actual HSE, the Health and Safety Executive. Hazards in your workplace, and a tiny little quiz we'll just do together around Robin, just to make sure that we have all managed to take something in from today. So if I can come to Martin first, really, Martin. We're looking at where you work and in your job. Name a significant hazard you have in your workplace. What's the biggest sort of hazard you have?
For us, it would be dust, would
Yep.
be a major one, because we've got a big static plant as well. Obviously, it's trying to control in certain areas because it's indoors, you tend to have a lot more exposure to it.
Yeah. And what sort of control measures are you using for the dust at the moment?
Yeah, we got certain things. We got a dust extraction, obviously, for like the screens and all that. We do dust encapsulation, making sure all the things which can cause it have got like skirts around it, rubber around it,
Brilliant. Yeah.
and all that. We also got dust suppressions. We got spray bars on the head drums of conveyor belts, spraying it when it's going into the chutes and all that. And then obviously then it's going into your more basic stuff, as in like you got signs warning people going into the buildings. There is when the plant's running, there's a lot of dust, and then obviously going to the PPE, which is the dust masks, which is the FFP3 masks only, and obviously they got to be face fitted as well and trained on that, so they know how to actually use that mask properly.
Thanks, Martin. You've just finished everything for me, so I think you should be doing this. But yeah, I mean, yeah, dust is probably for everyone on this call. Dust is one of the major sort of hazards we do have, and we also just wanted to mention that everyone should be on a regime of the health surveillance with like a medical practitioner, which I think it's every 2 years. Is that correct? Is it?
I think it's one now.
It is one, yeah. It's definitely for the quarries anyway. It's definitely one. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Paul? Any of us, what's your main sort of hazard you have on your site? I know you'll have dust as well, but is there something else?
Yeah, our dust is not quite as significant as the silica is really, really low. The biggest one here is traffic movements, pedestrian segregation. It's a busy site. There's a lot of HGVs, a lot of yellow kit moving around. So measures that we've put in place: pedestrian walkways clearly marked, kept clear, plenty of signage so people can't get lost, they know where they're going. For those, we do have to use small vehicles around the areas, but there's radio protocol for that, bucket down system for the loading shovels. We've introduced comprehensive one-way systems, all of which are sort of rolled out with inductions to the drivers. The plant know where to go most of the time. It's the HGVs that are the sort of biggest issues, because you get a lot of people that may only come onto the site once and once only. But yeah, so we do everything we can to keep it all clear.
No, that's brilliant. And again, quarries, traffic management and keeping traffic away from pedestrians is important for probably for every site. And even in our own personal lives, traffic's a very dangerous thing out on the roads these days. Seems to getting busier and busier. Who else looks like they want to answer? Ben Richardson.
Didn't really want to answer, Mike, if I'm honest.
Okay, that's so, but just for any sort of hazard with yourself, your job takes you everywhere to all these sites.
Yeah. Yeah, so every site, most of the quarries have got all the same hazards. The ones for me, is your moving objects, your crushers, your conveyors, um, those types of items.
Yeah, yeah. So
You
like
know,
the machinery side of things and mobile
machinery
plant and
side of
things like that.
things, yeah. And working on those, they're very dangerous pieces of kit. So ensuring that we've got isolation protocol in place
Yeah,
to ensure that it's all dead when we're working on bits of equipment like that. And ensuring we have got the correct safe system work and risk assessment to do the task in hand, and to do it safely. So yeah, they're the biggie ones for me.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sites.
I've got an example later of a risk assessment where we're putting in for moving machinery, which is massive for all of us, where we have to isolate and protect people, but also in a lot of you guys have to deal with blasting as well and explosives and controlling all this, all massive hazards and risks for people, and in some cases for the public as well. So we've always got to think about what we're doing, who it affects. Is it just employees? Is it visitors to your sites, customers, clients, or the general public? So these are all really good uh, examples of hazards and how we are controlling them on site, which is really well controlled on all our sites. Okay, we'll just leave it there. I'll pick on other people later if I get the chance. But thanks a lot. Yeah, and yeah, has the potential to cause harm. I got a short video now, which I put together, just it's more of an introduction into hazards on sites. So hopefully you can hear it. If there's no sound, please let me know straight away.
Workplace safety, identifying and mitigating hazards. Every day, workers step into environments that hold hidden dangers. These hazards, often unnoticed, have the potential to cause serious but preventable accidents. By recognizing and understanding these risks, we take an important step toward creating a safer and more secure workplace for everyone. My name is Kate, and I'm a dedicated health and safety advisor. When we talk about workplace hazards, we're referring to conditions or practices that have the potential to cause harm, injury, or illness. In high-risk industries like ours, hazards are a daily reality, whether from the environment we work in or the heavy machinery we operate. That's why identifying, assessing, and controlling these risks is not just important, it's essential. It's how we protect ourselves, our colleagues, and ensure a safe and healthy workplace for all. Today, working alongside your colleague Mike, we'll take a closer look at the often overlooked hazards in your workplace and discuss practical ways to protect both yourself and others who may be affected by your work. We will look at 4 key categories: mechanical, physical, chemical, and environmental, helping you to clearly recognize the risks and understand how to manage them. Mechanical hazards arise from the powered operation of machinery and tools. Unguarded equipment in particular presents significant risks. Workers may be injured through direct contact. Identifying and controlling these hazards is essential to preventing serious harm. We must also consider the risk of entanglement, crushing, or being struck by moving parts of machinery, as well as by materials or debris that may be ejected during operation. By implementing safety measures, we can prevent these accidents and ensure a safe work environment. Physical hazards like slips, trips, and falls are often underestimated, yet they remain one of the most common causes of serious injury. A single misstep can result in broken bones, head injuries, extended time off work, and in some cases, long-term health problems. On site, risks are everywhere. Uneven ground, loose material, and wet or slippery conditions all increase the likelihood of accidents. Recognizing these hazards and addressing them is essential to keeping everyone safe. Physical hazards are among the most common risks we face in the workplace. These include ergonomic hazards, which happen when work conditions or body positions strain the muscles and bones. For example, repetitive movements, poor task design, heavy manual handling, uncomfortable workstation heights, or awkward body positioning can all increase the likelihood of injury. The good news is that many of these risks are preventable. Simple measures such as maintaining clear walkways, Providing adequate lighting and designing tasks with ergonomics in mind can make a significant difference in protecting people's well-being. Chemical hazards are part of both our workplaces and our homes. From everyday cleaning products to industrial solvents, chemicals play an important role in what we do. But while they have many beneficial uses, they can also pose serious risks if not handled correctly. Exposure through inhalation, skin contact, or accidental ingestion can lead to burns, poisoning, long-term illness, or even environmental damage. That's why safe handling, proper storage, and strict controls are essential in protecting both people and the environment. Safe handling and correct storage are essential to reduce exposure and safeguard your health. Environmental conditions like excessive noise or inadequate lighting directly affect both safety and performance. By improving these factors and by actively managing stress and workload, we not only reduce risks but also promote a stronger culture of safety, efficiency, and overall well-being. Let's now explore in greater detail the steps we can take to protect ourselves from these workplace hazards. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, I mean, she did mention a few of the things we've already discussed in the workplace, especially mechanical entrapment, people getting caught in machineries and everything. I just want to very quickly run over some key definitions which we'll be using throughout this talk we're having today. So risk is a chance or probability that a person will be harmed. Hazard is something that has the potential to cause harm. Severity is a measure of the seriousness of the harm or injury that could be caused. The likelihood is the chance of being harmed. And the risk level is an evaluation of the risk to decide if it is safe to do the job or not to do the job. If the risk level is too high, we should always remember that we need to mitigate, put more measures in place to bring it to an acceptable risk. And control measures are the precautions to be put in place to prevent harm. So we'll be talking a lot about the hazards and the risks, but the control measures is really important, and maintaining them control measures. It's not just writing them down on a piece of paper, it's ensuring that they're actually happening out on site as well. So hazards are everywhere in life, from pouring a cup of tea, a hot cup of tea, to crossing the road. And we need something that will help us process our everyday performance. A lot of these things we do in our heads, like crossing the road, you're always doing a risk assessment. You see a nice, good pedestrian crossing down the street, but it's you have to go a long way to get down there, and you don't want to go that way down. So a lot of people take that extra risk and cross the road where there isn't a pedestrian crossing. These happen every day. You see them when you're driving, someone running in between cars just across the road very quickly. It could be round your house. It could be like the picture shows there. It could be someone trying to do your own electrical maintenance at home, which is something I tend to not do at all. It's safe for everybody, really, because I'm not very good at the old household stuff. But it is daily life. The simple act of walking is everything. You're doing it unconsciously all the time. But when it comes into work and there's more hazards and there's more significant risk, we have to look to ways to manage these. Other further examples, I mean, who drove to work today, checked their petrol gauge, I think I'll make it, I'll get fuel on the way home. These are all risk assessments you're doing in your head. Eating something past its sell by date, we've all done that, especially looking in some of your fridges at work. I'm sure quite a few eat things behind the sell. So going out and barefoot in the summer, run across the grass for someone's thrown a broken bottle in your garden, or something there could jab you. And even more and more, I think it's more of a hazard, which seems to be getting worse, is especially for maybe females, but more and more today for guys like us as well, is getting the last tube train home at night. The streets are a little bit unsafer than they were 20, 30 years ago. And now you're taking that risk. Do I have batteries on my mobile phone? Has it run out? Am I walking somewhere alone? Is it a good area? These are all risks going through your head. Sometimes you're impaired by, obviously, the alcohol if you've been out late at night and you're getting the last train home. So we are doing these all the time. Something that does affect us at work is driving against direction around the car park. A lot of our car parks will be one way and they have systems, And I have seen in some incidents around the country that there has been a few instances where people just went the wrong way, and instead, because you get key to looking right all the time because it's one way, and someone's come from the left because they're the ones driving the wrong way. So it's always good just to keep looking all around you, upstream, downstream, and working in hot weather. Something we're not really used to that much in Great Britain, but when it comes, it does come hot, and it's changing the way we work. Probably extra brakes, more fluids available, making sure the air conditioning works in vehicles, etc., etc. I sent this out to you, but this is also available on site in all your risk assessment books where you carry out the point of work risk assessments. For something like this, everybody on this call understands all these hazards. They understand where they come from and how they do. But this is just like a checklist, which is in the book already, which will help remind you of different things when you go to site and you're about to do a job you haven't done before, and you can start looking around you. Is anything going to be falling, moving objects? Am I safe from any vehicle routes? What measures do I have to put in place to protect myself, but also protect others from whatever I am doing? So I could be the one working at height. Have I made it safe below? Have I told people to keep clear? So we're always looking at, if you name these hazards, you have to look for mitigation and make it safe for the person doing the work, but also the people around them. So we're going to go to just one of these hazards and have a little think about slips, trips and falls. The reason why I've chose this, we've done a campaign recently on this. I did a lecture yesterday with all owner drivers down in Seven Sands, another one of our sites. And it was really good to listen to the driver side of things because they hadn't been that involved in the campaign, a lot of the owner drivers. So it was really good to hear their conversations. So we will go through slips and falls in a minute, but if you would like, because it is Friday and everything, we can take a 5-minute break. Yeah, just close your eyes, some deep breathing, relax, think about what you're going to do this weekend. Nobody working, I hope. So just have 5 minutes. If you can make a cup of tea in 5 minutes, that's it. But don't run with a hot kettle. So we just wait for everyone to come back, and then we'll get started again soon. Anything planned for the weekend, anyone? No, just lazy weekends.
Caravan as usual.
Yeah, yeah. Wait for Ben Deacon. Okay, we'll start with Ben. He's probably had a very important phone call from one of his asphalt plants. Hope it's a happy call. Yeah, so we'll just have a look at some slips, trips, and falls. The reason why we look at this because it's the single most common cause of major injury still in the UK, and it's one of our biggest as well within breeding. Different causes could be floor contamination, oil, grease, spilled liquids, poor housekeeping, loose objects, trailing cables, uneven damage or worn flooring. And this could be outside. We have potholes and things like that. We need to always try and keep on top of, etc. Sometimes some of in our work, especially for the drivers, it's out of their hands when they arrive on site, but we don't always know the condition, etc., especially the mixer drivers. So I look back on the last 3 years in GB materials, and hi Ben, glad you're back. We're just having a look at slips, trips and falls in GB materials over the last 3 years. So as you can see there, the top 90 slip, trip and fall injuries were recorded in the last 3 years. 10 slipped on ice, snow, and we've got the winter coming up, so we need to be prepared now, really. Everything should be in place. 16 slipped on wet, slippery ground. 14 injured stepping down from a truck, bottom step to the ground, which is quite high. We will look a little bit more into that one. 12 tripped while walking on uneven surfaces, potholes. 14 tripped on stairs, steps. 10 tripped over an object. This is the big one for me. 8 tripped over their own feet. So obviously, when we record incidents into our system, our electronic system, there was no actually hazard reported. They've just tripped and fell. So sometimes we need to delve a little bit deeper in investigation. 44 injured people walking off piste, and what I mean by that, not following the proper pedestrian routes. I think Paul and Nat talked about them earlier. His pedestrian routes, they're all marked, clearly marked, signposted for drivers, and there still we have 4 injured people walking away from where they should be, and 2 injured by floor collapsing. So out of these, 70% involved employees, 44% involved lorry drivers. So that's nearly half were in lorry drivers, and that's including our own employees and contract drivers. 90% occurred on one of our sites, and the other 10 on a customer site. 76% were lost due to injuries were from slips, trips, and falls. So of all the days lost in the past 3 years through injury or illness or recorded on our system, 76% was due to this. And as you see from these pictures, I actually took these pictures. These are all from Seven Sands. This was in a workshop. That's no good. If you're getting out of a van, you could easily slip over. These things should be cleaned straight away. There's a walkway over here on the right-hand side, uneven surfaces. We did this during the campaign when we walked around. Happy to say that all these are in planning stage for being rectified, and the oil in that have already all been cleaned up and made safe. But if you're a driver and you put into a garage like that, you would feel a little bit, wow, this might be unsafe. If they leave the floors like this, it's going to be slippery, and big chance of an actual incident happening. So I went deeper into investigations to find out some of the reasons why these were injured. Boots not properly laced up, but that was a big driver one, because I think some of the drivers like wear the driving shoes and their boots are getting on site, and sometimes they just slip their boots on and come down the steps. Not following the pedestrian routes, rushing, not maintaining 3 points of contact. You'll see a video later with someone coming out of one of their HGVs facing forward as he's coming out, and you see the damage it does to him. Not holding handrails, not paying attention is a big one. Thinking about the weekend maybe when you should be thinking about where you're stepping. Ignoring safety rules, lack of challenge. That's always quite a difficult one, is giving people the power to actually challenge other people and tell them to stop. Have you seen this? Be careful, there's a hazard behind you. And I think this is an important one to bring up, because I have seen it before where people are challenged and the reaction of that person is very negative to the person that's challenged him. And this is where it's really important for, especially you guys are senior guys, and if someone does challenge you, it's always, even if you know the hazards there and everything, it's always good to acknowledge the challenge and say, thank you very much, I've seen it, and then move on. What you don't want is to be negative to the person give you a challenge, because you want him to challenge people. You want him in the future to tell you there's a hazard which maybe you haven't seen. It could be something that just arrived behind you. It could be a hole in the ground. It could be something tripping, or it could be doing some work where you're heading. So any sort of challenge, we should be positive and thank people and move on. Yeah. Ineffective workplace inspections. I've missed stuff when I've walked around and done inspections or VFLs, like I'm sure you have, because I've seen someone put an observation on, and I think to myself, well, I was there yesterday. That's why it's always good to get new sets of eyes. Different people see different things, so it's good when you are inspections to maybe walk around with different people on the site. So how do we mitigate against all this? Well, risk assessments, which I know you all involved with, but a risk assessment is the first step in the process of risk management. It is a tool used to identify potential hazards and assess the risks they pose to people, property, and the environment. Mustn't forget about the environment, but a lot of today we're going to be talking about people, safety, injury, illness. This, I will read this to you. This is actually straight from HSC, so this is copy and pasted. And a risk assessment is nothing more than a careful examination of what in your work could cause harm to people, so that you can weigh up whether you have taken enough precautions or should do more to make sure no one gets hurt. It's as simple as that. That's all it is, a careful examination of what we're doing and making sure we're putting in safety measures to ensure that everybody's safe at work. So what are we doing? Well, again, this is from HSC. Your company, Breeding, is required to make suitable and sufficient assessments of risk to employees and risk to other people who may be affected by the organisation, such as business contractors and members of the public. This can only be achieved if a risk assessment process is planned and managed. It is a legal requirement. But of course, we all have responsibilities too. And again, this is from HSC. It shall be the duty of every employee while at work to take reasonable care for the health and safety of themselves and of other persons who may be affected by their acts or omissions at work. And promote a positive safety culture and support well-being is really important for everyone to do that. It's that conversation you have when you're having a coffee in the canteen and chatting to people. always like promoting positive safety. Why do we do them is quite a big question. Here's a couple of examples. The top left one first. And the bottom right. So yeah, but both quite nasty injuries. Again, I'm not trying to focus on the drivers, but we are talking about slips, trips, and falls, and this is quite a big risk. It's quite a height to fall from. Both of them people were eventually okay, but both were injured and required treatment. One of them hospital treatment. So again, we're sticking why we do them. It identifies what could cause injury and illness in your business, the hazards, and decide how likely is that someone could be harmed and how seriously, and that's the risk. So an effective risk assessment can drastically reduce the likelihood of work-related accidents. They raise awareness about hazards and the risks they pose, and help us, employees at Breeding, identify options to minimize health and safety risks. We do lots of different things. Can you imagine the risk assessment? I know you do these. Risk assessment, everything that goes into the bottom left when we do blasts. There's all sorts to look into. There's all sorts of hazards from preparing to the actual blast itself and for checking at the end. If you look at the one on the right, everything is wrong with this one. This person is okay in the end, but the person does get lifted up eventually into this bit here and then manages to climb out. I'll show you. Oops, sorry, I'll show you that. Okay. I just don't. I mean, everything went wrong there, hasn't it? Why is someone there? Why haven't they got them moved? And we do have see but everything got kind of wrong. Forget about no PPE and wasn't easy to see. It was just that's an example of why we do them. Why we put safety measures in place. There should be no people in that area at all. There's lots to be done there. Okay. Anyone shout out any? I know it's a very basic drawing. It's actually taken from IOSH, the Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. And I used to be a trainer at IOSH, so I managed to get this slide. So, Ben Deacon, anything there you see? You sound.
Yeah, there's a couple there, Mike. There's the guy there with a chop saw. Looks like he's not got gloves on by the look of it.
Yeah.
There's another guy here lifting some gear up.
Yeah.
There's another guy here with a Kangoo. I don't think he's got ear protection in.
Yep. Yeah.
Another guy working down in a bit of a hole by the look of it.
Yeah. He's not in a good place. I'll put some up for you. Yeah. I mean, this guy over here, he doesn't feel safe. He shouldn't be working, and nor should the lorry driver. He should be gone. We all know the hazard there and the risk there is too high, too great. There's other things. Yeah, you talked about the guy, no gloves, no glasses, but there's no as well. Lady with a pram. It's not the greatest of pictures, I know. Yeah, you think about vibration, another hazard from using that type of thing. Yep, he's not wearing a hard hat and his back's hurting because there's no need for someone to be manual handling like this. These could fall off scaffolding. In fact, the whole scaffolding looks unsafe to me. You see there's a toe board at the top and then there's nothing in the middle. And the guy at the top, as well as being on unsafe scaffolding, he's not very well neither. Quite a lot here. The open hole. This chap is nice, good health and safety advisor, minding his own business. It could be me, and I've got a big wall behind me. This is where I'd want to intervene with me and let me know you're stood in a very dangerous place. you've got an open hole behind you. Things like this, trailing cables. I mean, you could go on and on this all the time. That could collapse. So yeah, I'm sure there's lots more there. You can probably see the ladder's probably unlashed. There's other different things. Yeah, the scaffold doesn't look great. So we'll continue along. Why do we do them? It is a key element of our safety management. It allows us to see unsafe conditions and practices before they can cause accidents. It helps assess what control measures we need. It gives the clear basis for what safety concerns need to be prioritized. Overall, it creates awareness. So for training in these risk assessments, risk assessment is a skill. It's difficult. Some people can and can't do them, but you do need training, and the person needs to be competent. And what I mean by competent, and the actual text, is a person with sufficient training, experience, knowledge, and of course, any other qualities to enable him to properly undertake the duties assigned to him. So that is the actual definition of competence. Okay, experience, knowledge, and other qualities, and sufficient training. So it's very important. I sent before this, before our chat today, I sent out their risk assessment template we use at Breeding. Others use various different ones about there, but they all cover the same thing. They all cover the hazards, who's likely to get harmed or may get harmed, and how we're going to control that. And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. So we have two different types. We have the general purpose risk assessments, which should be written with everyone involved who will be carrying out that activity or task. SSOW, which is Safe Systems of Work, which all it is a sequence of events, how we're going to carry out that work. That needs to go with risk assessment if necessary. Not all of them need that, and we'll cover that in another lesson. Control measures identified and in place, and whether people and whoever's carrying out risk assessment will be signed off. We need to review these, of course, as well. But that generic general purpose risk assessment should be for every activity we carry out on our sites. It's something that really doesn't change much. And we're doing that same routine thing every day. It could be driving the dumper. It could be driving the shovel, walking around sites, parking your car. There should be a risk assessment for all these. Non-routine or one-offs, you'll find a lot of the fitters will use this. And again, I sent you all out the example, and I'll show you again in a second. But it's just like the generic one. It should be written involving all relevant people prior to work commencing. This is something that you actually take down with you. You've been asked to do a task. You take the book with you to site. You look for all the hazards. Yeah. And then when you identify them, you put control measures in place. And again, it may require a safe system of work, and everybody who's going to do that task should sign it. On this slide, so on the left is the one I've just described, the point of work risk assessment, which you would fill out, job, task. This is what they take to the actual place, fill it out with the people involved, and you'd involve everyone to look at the hazards, how might they be harmed, and what control measures they're going to put in place. And then have they done enough? Yes or no, or any additional information. They may not be able to start the work because they may need other help from other people on site, maybe to barricade or cordon off the area, maybe communications. They may need to take a radio with them to let them know when they're starting and when they're going to finish. There's lots of different things a point of work risk assessment can do, but it is a good tool they can use. The routine general purpose one on the right, yeah, it's of course it's going to be a lot more detailed because it's stuff we do every day. So these are already in place. We have these on all our sites, and it's very important that these are reviewed, and they should be reviewed annually. Sometimes when I do a assessment, I will put it every 6 months to be reviewed, because that means it's a very critical thing. I want to make sure that we have the correct measures and there's no new measures that we could put in place. And assessment. So what are you assessing? And be specific. Resources, what tools, documents, or equipment do you need? Anything, any special inspection tools, PPE? It could be RPE you need, respiratory protective equipment. And it's always good if you are using new equipment or new mechanical aids, they have the relevant manuals, a safe system on how you're going to use them and who can use them? Are people properly trained? And that's where key persons come going to be involved in the assessment. You may need the knowledge and expertise of workers, contractors, and suppliers. It might be something new to you on site. It might be a new chemical. It might be a new piece of equipment. So you have to find as much information as you can. So there's never harm pulling people into the risk assessment and asking them to sit down with you to make sure that we've covered every hazard. And of course, we have laws, regulations, policies. What legal matters do you need to comply with? Yeah, are we following the right code standards? And we're not missing anything. So although it's easier when you do the generic ones because you just sit down, take time and do them, but we still have to try and remember these 4 elements when we come to the quick point of work ones. Once these elements are in place, you are ready to start your risk assessment. The mitigation, I just want to again look at the hierarchy of control. I'm sure all of you have heard of this phrase before, the hierarchy of control. It's how effective different mitigation or safety measures we put in place. So above the yellow line there, you see, they're the most effective ones. Below the yellow line is your admin controls, PPE. On the next slide, I shall show you more. So first thing, eliminate the hazard. If we can do that, that means do we need to do the job? Yeah, is there another way of doing it? Does it have to be done now? So remove a hazard at the source. Okay, so that's the most effective one. Substitution, is there a safer alternative to the source of a hazard? So a real basic, simple example of that is they change a lot of paints from lead-based to water-based paints. Yeah, so we're substituting the substance, reducing the risk of a hazard to the people using it. Isolate the hazard, we talked about earlier with Ben mentioned the machinery and everything, or it could be just barricading the area, ensure separation from any person, vehicle from the actual hazard itself. Engineering controls, keep hazards away from workers again by changing equipment, again barriers, ventilation, other safety measures. And engineering controls is something more and more now, with especially with big, large equipment and mobile plant, engineering controls are getting put in at design phase and the building phase. So although we still have old equipment on sites, we've added things to them to mitigate cut-offs, lock-offs on mobile plant. But now more and more they're coming with all these already implemented into the machine. So engineering controls is improving throughout the industry. And admin controls, yeah, this is the procedures, the processes, job rotation, rest breaks, and stuff like that. These are, as you see below, the less effective ones. And the least effective PPE is equipment worn to minimize exposure of hazards. Employers or employees should not rely on PPE alone to control hazards. It's the last line of defense. If anybody's PPE is struck by something or is marked or is come into contact with something, that means everything above that PPE, we failed. So we need to stop and start again. Why is this happening? Okay. A lot of people recently with the dust issues we've been having, people are just going out to buying respirators now. That's it. That's done. That is not getting rid of a problem. We have to look at, can we eliminate it, substitute it, isolate it, engineering controls, and that could be your we talked about earlier, sprinklers and stuff. That's all engineering control side of things. We shouldn't rely on PPE. I don't know if anyone's seen this before. I showed it recently. This is one of our employees, ex-employee, I should add. He was alone on site now, and people wanted to know why he stayed on site so long, and then they found out he was actually inside the mixer drum. So he's just finished his work, his other camera angles and everything. What could have happened here? There's so much. Well, if anything had happened inside, this was a Friday, his body wouldn't have been found until Monday. That's electrical cables above him as well. His legs caught and everything. Luckily, nothing happened. And he's wearing a hard hat, so That's about the only thing he's got going for him there. He's wearing a hard hat in a non-hard hat area. That's the only thing he's got going for him. But yeah, he no longer works with us because he knew this was a violation of health and safety. He knew he shouldn't have been doing that, and he proved that by doing it after work hours on his own when everyone else left the site. So what else do we need for a risk assessment? So we need to review airplay, but if we have machinery or equipment or changes to the site, yeah, we need to do a risk assessment or review the risk assessment we have. Any new process or work practices, in Freeman's, I hear they are going to be probably getting an RMX plan. Maybe, possibly. I'm not 100%. I'm going to look at it next week from the health and safety side. I've looked at it before, but so many risk assessments are going to have to be put in place for this, and we can't just hand them over. We have to look at the traffic management there. We have to look at how the vehicles are coming in, parking, discharging, how it's going to interfere with the other normal operations, and is the risk level going to affect their risk assessments on sites, because they're going to be raised slightly. There's going to be more traffic, more things going on, more personnel. So things like that. So new process or working practices, new personnel. We might have different people with different skills or less skills. Could be an apprentice. So we have to consider apprentices, and they might not be worldly wise to the environment they have come into. But sadly, we look at them after any injury, incident, or serious event. Any changes to legislation, code of practice, and change the circumstances during a task, resulting in an increased level of risk. Changes of circumstances during a task, it could be the weather. It could be simple as that. Torrential rain, you're working outside, and something, and may need to let's stop the job. The risk has got too high. We haven't got the facilities to continue in this sort of weather. It could be that. Change legislation, good practice, they come about slowly. We normally have good notice of them and we can put them in place. But after an injury and incident, when I do accident investigation, it's one of the first things I ask for. Can I see the risk assessment for this? And we just have a look at it and make sure not only that they followed it, but we look for improvements, see if we can change it, see if it's a better bit of equipment, more training, is there a different way of doing it? We may even look back at the hierarchy of control. So HSC have this. This is HSC's 5 steps to risk assessment. We've been through these now. Identify the hazards. Who's going to be harmed? Who might be harmed? Public, yourselves, contractors. Evaluate the risks and decide on precautions. So we have dust. Well, how are we going to stop this dust? Yeah, and remember PP's last line defense. Yeah, we're going to have to suppress this dust somehow. Lots of different ways of doing it. Not so bad in the winter, but terrible in the summer. Very difficult. Record your findings. That's what risk assessment's all about. And monitor and view, really important to make sure when you are doing inspections or walking around sites, you maybe grab a couple of risk assessments, have a look at them, go out on site and speak to the people doing the job and see if there's any changes that needed, or is it still the same? Are we working this as safe as possible way we can? Yeah, we've got a considerable work environment when we're doing anything above, below, around. We have to visit the task, run through the task, consider what could harm each step. Environmental quality damage, discuss with colleagues, make use of people's experience. I have to all the time, being not only having 2 years experience working with you guys, it's I have to go looking for knowledge and experience from you and ask people, is this the way we should be doing it? Is there a better way? Is there different equipment? And lucky enough, I've got you guys and good colleagues, and I can still carry out my job by trusting others' experience and looking for that help. Types of hazards in the workplace, identify hazards. So we've talked about this: safety hazards, chemical hazards, biological hazards. Biological hazards, this could come from a food. If you're doing your own barbecue and you haven't got a great chef like Graham cooking on site, this could happen. This is still a hazard and a risk. Or it could be the dreaded COVID and things like that. How are we protecting each other, stopping the spread of germs? Or it could be, I recently sent out something I did, the food one. I did a risk assessment for food waste. I mainly did it for Seven Sands because they have a lot of food waste that comes off of ships, but I thought I could roll it out to everyone. So hopefully you've all had a look at that. And it really does show you things. If people are handling that waste outside without gloves on, the risks, the different sort of risks there from vermin and etc. There's lots to think about there. Ergonomic hazards, what people repeatedly lifting things up and down. Can we change that? Is there a better way of doing that? Recently in Wicklow, we had a fitter ask for help to carry something in, and then later on, we decided he didn't need the help to carry the same item, but into a workshop and hurt his back. So it's things like that. And again, if you're seeing people, it's offering help, stopping people from doing that. We talked about that earlier. Physical hazard caused by vibration, energy, weather, heat, cold, electricity, radiation. So there's loads out there. And remember, you've got that checklist that I did send you, and it's on the books. Yep, during design implementation, before tasks are done, checking equipment, following processes, during inspections, review incidents, near misses, injuries, and ill health. Check equipment as well, and the manuals and instructions for proper use. A lot of us being only men on this today, we don't like looking at manuals. We think we know it all half the time. So I keep getting told, we put the manual away. This is easy. Seen this before, but it's always good to have a little, maybe look in the first, the health and safety part of it. There might be something there that you may miss. So manuals are quite important, especially for new equipment we get, and making sure it's installed properly. Just to show you that you all have this checklist now. And remember, this hazard checklist I give you it's not exhaustive. This isn't. There's loads more. This is just a good example to get people's minds thinking when they're carrying out the risk assessment. Yep. Who might be harmed? Visitors, internal, external, wanted and unwanted. Nobody likes health and safety coming and visit. Members of the public might have been invited in. So we have to consider everything we do, and it should be in the risk assessment. We should also pay extra attention when considering hazards due to increased vulnerability, people with disabilities, inexperienced personnel. These could be fresh and new people coming in to learn, expecting nursing mothers. We have people working in the offices in our places that are expected, and young people. Although we don't have anyone under the age of 18 working on our sites, we do occasionally have visitors come into the sites, maybe for work experience, and then we have to do a whole different risk assessment for them to make sure it's extra safe. We put more safety measures in place. Some workers have requirements. Lone working, there's risk assessments for them. Working on one now for a couple of the RMX plants, trying to make it safer for the guys. And home working, I need a new seat. I'm at home today, enjoying it. And but yeah, I'm getting a sore neck from leaning forward, some hurting. So I have to think about my own seat. So we've got to think about everything. Yeah, consider hazards identified, determine control measures. We've talked about that. You might have heard lots of people talk about different types of risk analysis or the different things. The most easy and basic one I recommend is just the what if. What if there's an unexpected over pressurization? So you've been tasked to go and do something, an activity. You should be asking yourself, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if the power is lost? What's going to happen if the power is lost when I'm working on this? It could be lighting. You could be in a pitch black. What is going to happen? Have you covered that? You brought a torch. Yeah. What if something else happens? What if power is automatically restored after the loss? Yeah. Have you isolated? Yeah. There's lots of different things, but the what if analysis is the most basic and simple. I ask it all the time. What if? Yeah. What if I didn't drive that way today? What if I went this way? What if I didn't wear the correct PPE, or I wasn't trained in it? What if that young guy who's working about has never been trained, but his manager thought he had been? So it's about communication as well. What if warning signs are missed or ignored? What if they're not gas emitted? What if the worker's impacted by liquids or solids? So it's all different things. Here's a very, very quick example, really easy. What if the motor starts up? Okay, the control measures, we isolate the motor, and how we lock off number 6 local isolator. That's just an example. It's not a real thing, something I made up, but that's what we do. So what if a motor starts up? We have to isolate, don't we? We have to make sure before we start on any work on that, that motor cannot start up accidentally or by anybody else. What's going on? So this is a very quick example on dangerous machinery. Ben was talking about it earlier. So this is one of our general generic risk assessments. You may have a slightly different form, but it all is the same. All as long as it comes to the same result in the end, that we're putting in safety measures. So dangerous machinery, operators, fitters, contractors. Yeah. How could they be harmed? Maybe lack of experience, unfamiliar with equipment, process, no training, incorrect tools, lack of PPE, caught in the moving parts. Remember, this is dangerous machinery. So if we look at the bottom here, this is the table we use in breeding. So we have impact and we have likelihood. Okay, so impact, likelihood, and then that's when we get a risk rating. Okay, and the risk rating is here. We have very low, no risk, low risk, medium risk, high risk, very high risk. Anything falls in very high risk or high risk, we do not do the job. We cannot do the job. It is not safe to do the job. Okay, we need to find more safety measures. We need to go back to our hierarchy of control and look for changes we can do for that job. It's as simple as that. We should not be writing risk assessments to ensure we can do the job. Yeah, we write them honestly and we look, no, the risk is too high. We need to put another measure in place or not do it at all. So for something like dangerous machinery, if we look at the impact, I'm here. So what's the impact dangerous machinery could have on you? Of course, it's going to be fatality, life-changing disability. Even if you lose a finger by getting entrapped, that's a life-changing disability. So we put a 5 in there. And remember, the first column here is risk rating without controls, and that's risk rating once we put the controls in place. So the impact's going to be 5. Yeah. What's the likelihood? We come down here. I would say it's possible. Of course, it's possible. Remember, we haven't put in anything yet. 5. So the risk rating is 15. High risk. We're not doing that job. So what is already in place, or what can we do something to reduce the risk? So I've just put in some examples here. There's probably a lot more, but this is just so you know how risk assessments are filled in. Only trained personnel, perfect, to operate machinery. So you don't want anybody who's never used that machinery before. I couldn't go down to nearly all your machinery on site, and I couldn't lock it out or do it. I'd have to ask, what else can we do? Everything else. Cordon off area. Communicate hazards to other staff, put guards in place, put barriers, and maybe even sentry watching. It all depends. But Lototo, lock out, tag out, and try out would have to be implemented here. So, does that change the impact? Anyone? No. Impact always stays the same. Don't forget, and that's where we don't want people to relax. It's still dangerous machinery. Okay, no power to it. Yeah, it's not going to happen. So what's the likelihood is going to shoot right down? There's 1, highly unlikely. Well, there's no power. You've locked out properly. You've followed a different process, procedure. Everybody's got their own padlocks on. That machinery can't start up. You've cordoned off the area. Everybody knows about it. You've put guards in place. So now we have a risk rating of 5, which is a very low risk. Okay. A lot of the time, these 3 columns, you should have done enough in here. But sometimes you may want to add some extra things. So in this one, I have, just for training purposes, personal locks. Put tags on, use your own personal lock, and make sure you've been trained in its use. That is part of Lototo. I do understand that. But when I used to, as an example, when I used to do toolbox talks before drilling offshore, and we had to do these every 12 hours, we had to do a new briefing. I would make everybody hold up their own personal lock, because you might have one person at the back who's left it 2,500 miles away at home in his other bag, and he hasn't got one, but he's a bit embarrassed to say anything, and he will go and do the job without his lock in the lotto sequence. So he doesn't have a lock. He shouldn't feel safe. Okay, and we all on all our sites carry spare locks for contractors, etc., etc. So that's something I used to do. Make sure everybody's got their own personal lock. Action by whom? Could be site manager, and it should be done. prior to any work and discuss at the toolbox talk, which should happen before any sort of work on dangerous machinery. Again, a lot of the time this will say not applicable, but for training purposes, I filled it in. Everything there should bring it down to a 5, and that should be it. Okay, so don't worry if that column just has NA in it. It's nothing serious. It's when we get here, we want to lower this risk rate into acceptable risk. Just been through that. So yeah, I filled in the rest myself. I put in a few other things when working with this. Noise, slip strips, manual handling. Again, who might be harmed? How might they be harmed? Risk rating. And then all of them in green because we put all this in place. Lotto, PP, communicate noise hazards to visitors, cordon off area, good housekeeping, massive one. Good manual handling, use mechanical means, techniques, help from others, etc., etc. And yeah, I just put in some examples. Weather to be considered, ice, snow. If in doubt about the weight of an item, do not attempt to lift on your own. Just different reminders you can use as like a little note place when you're given a toolbox talk before any activity. Very briefly, safe systems of work. Again, like I said, this is another lecture for you to look forward to on another day. But safe systems of work, all it is, if it's a task like a fitter's coming in, he wants to write down how we're going to do this job. Get the tools, number 1. Yeah. Pick the personnel to do the task, number 2. So it'll be a sequence of events, simple as that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finish job, tidy site, make sure it's all clear, reactivate. That's all it is would be in there. It's really simple. Signatures of the person in charge of a task, the supervisor, and signatures of all the people involved. So they know the sequence of events, what has to be done along with the risk assessment. That's all I'm going to talk about safe systems of work, method statements at the moment. We will carry that on another day. And monitor and view. It is a continuous process. When I walk around sites, or when I know when you guys, you're always looking at how things are happening. Is it being done properly? Risk assessment is not a one-time activity, and no one template will fit our organization's needs. Okay, so you have to make sure you adapt your criteria and methods are in the context. So we have to adapt to what we're doing all the time, and there's no one template, which can be seen on all our sites because we came and took over from different businesses. And at the moment, we still have different risk assessments, but they all say the same sort of things. The one I've just shown you is something I put together because they didn't have one in breeding. They're using CEMEX and other people still on different sites, which is perfectly acceptable at the moment. And maybe things will change in the future, but everybody on this call I know all have good risk assessments. All right, back to you. Who can I pick on? Graham, what precautions would you take here? It's not right, is it?
It definitely isn't right. You could have used a taller person.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. I have to find one.
Yeah, proper work platform to do it from, so that you can have 3 points of contact to get up there.
Absolutely.
And do the job differently to what he's trying to do it from there.
Yeah, that's it, Graham. There's nothing really else to say about it. I'll show you the next thing. Exactly. Work platform properly done. He didn't have the right tools before, he's got them now. Yeah, that's about thinking. But I mean, if we look at the slide before, yeah, what precautions should we take? Yeah. How many times have we done this type of thing on site where I've seen someone, I'll just quickly do it. It's Friday. I want to go home. I'll do it this way, get away with it. There's no need. We're paid to come into work, finish a job. If that can't be done till Monday, it has to wait till Monday if it can't be done properly. If you have to hire kit in, tools and get the proper equipment, the right person to do the job, it has to wait. Nobody should be getting pressure put on them. I need it now. I need it now. I need it now. Okay, I'll have to just climb up here and do it. That should never happen. That's something we should look out for. That we're not pressuring people into doing things like that, standing up on things, because it's a 5-minute job, but it takes 1 second for him to fall and slip and break his neck. It's as simple as that. Yeah, we should not be rushing people. They should be risk assessed. It should be looked at. Perfect one, this would be for a point of work risk assessment. What's the hazards? So many hazards here. Fall from heights. He's on wheels, that thing. For Christ's sake, there's stuff everywhere. It doesn't look like he's got the right equipment. It's not the greatest of photographs, but he'd need to sit down and really have a look at what's going on. And hopefully that's what they finally did. He got pulled down. And that's another important thing. Giving people the power to stop the job when they see it and praising them for doing that. Okay, it's all about empowering people to be able to act safe, be safe on site. From the lowest person, an apprentice should feel able to tell the chief executive officer on his site to stop and please, can you not come down here? It's too dangerous. Everyone should feel that power and don't feel stressed. I know it's really hard to get certain people to speak up. Sometimes I feel I have to tell him, but I shouldn't feel like that. But that's what we want, the culture we want to instill to every single person on your site, that they can say, stop, this isn't good enough, this isn't safe enough. So homework. Yep, you're all really happy with homework. All it is, I'll send it to you all after. I just want, before I come and visit your site, to identify 5 hazards. Okay, and remember what a hazard is. It's something that can cause you or those around you injury or harm. Okay, identify 5, just one safety measure for each hazard. You should have them already in place, but see if you can think outside the box and think, well, what else could we do better? And do this as if money's no object. You work for a very, very rich company and money's no object. What would be the best thing you can put in place to make them hazards? And remember the hierarchy of control. Yeah, eliminate first is the first one. Eliminate it or substitute it. They're the top ones. Substitute's a really good one. And remember, I've already sent this to you. You have the checklist. Have a look at some of those activities now on your site, and have a look at the checklist and say, have I considered fallen objects from there? Have I considered the noise, the dust, fumes, dangerous machinery, moving vehicles? We talked about it earlier. It's massive on all our sites. I mean, I think we're all one way now. We have all our sites because we've learned lessons. I will send you this as well, just to fill it in. So just for my records, etc. Coming near the end, everyone. It's good stuff, exciting. Okay, so there's only, I think there's only 5 questions here, but I'll play them through. Not a written exercise. We just do them as a group. Okay, so if you all take your unmute yourselves and just shout out if you know the answer. If you give one answer, the first one give an answer, then you don't have to answer another question. Okay. Why do we carry them out?
Do you want to use it now? No, I didn't. Oh, just
B.
Who's that? Graham. All right, Graham. Well done, Graham. Graham's in the lead. Okay, B. Yeah, we carry them out to ensure we have a safe working environment. What is the definition of a hazard?
A. B.
Who said A first?
Okay.
Frank. Where done Frank? Something with the potential to cause harm. What is the definition of a risk?
A.
Who said A first? Call it a tie. Yeah, the likelihood a hazard will cause harm. So that's the definition of a risk. How likely is it going to cause harm? What is the correct order for the hierarchy of control measures? Everybody's backing up this one.
D.
I hope it's not because you've sat on one of my risk assessment ones before. Hope you've read it properly. Yeah, it is absolutely right. It is D. Always remember the hierarchy control we want to eliminate first, substitute, isolate, engineering controls, and then the 2 least effective, admin control and PPE. Okay, last line of defense is PPE. Nothing should be affected with PPE. Yeah. That's the last line of defense. And PPE shouldn't be used as a safety measure. Yeah, I've seen a few risk assessments where they put them in and they have safety measures, correct PPE to be worn, and that's it. No, no, no. We have to look at measures to protect people. PPE is the last line. Last question, I think.
Stop the work.
A.
Yeah, stop the
Yeah, yeah. Stop the work, and please try and empower your people, your guys, your peers to be able to stop the work without fear of anything. And it's really important, especially during coffee and tea breaks. When you got the new guys coming in, I've seen the old boys talking, yeah, in my day, we used to do this. Well, that was their day. Okay, we're trying to make things safer and better for everybody. And the last thing I'm going to show you, which some of you might have seen before, okay? This is a puddle. That's the hazard. The risk is the car coming down, yeah? This young lady here, she could be harmed here, or at least get really, really wet. Okay, so let's watch the video play out. Oh, and there's the measure. Okay, simple as that. That's all a risk assessment is. Okay, it's finding something that will stop the risk or lower the risk rating to as low as practically possible. I'll send you all this after, a PDF of everything, and you'll have all the reference list, the references I used to find out all this information. Believe it or not, I don't know everything. I know people think I do, but I don't. I do have to go and find information and learn things again for myself. So we have a look at this. And then also after, I'll be sending you, this is called a MicroTeach I'm doing at the moment, a peer feedback form. Please, if you don't mind, fill it in as soon as you can and just email it back to me. I'd be most appreciated. And be honest on it, because I want to learn as well. So that's all really good. Sorry, stop. Can you all see me now?
Yeah.
Have I got enough sweat on me? I'm not sure. Is there any questions? No? Well, thanks everyone for coming today. Really appreciate it. And I really hope you all have a really good weekend. I will stay on for 5 minutes if anyone wants to talk, as I said at the beginning. And you've all got my contact details. Please give me a shout anytime, apart from Saturday and Sundays. But unless it's an emergency, of course. But yeah, I'll probably see you all next week. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Mike.
Cheers.
Thank you,
Bye.
Mike.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye
Have
now.
a great day.
Bye.
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 Bye. Mhm.